remember it for
Welcome, everyone, to Total Recall, the show that remembers it for you. I am your host, Jethro Bot, and with me is the Wizard. And we're going to go easy on you right now, Mr. Wizard.
It's all right.
But
pain don't hurt.
Yeah, pain don't hurt. That's right. Our friend here got some dental work, so we're not going to make him laugh too much. So if anyone's wondering, hey, why is this show so boring? It's because we just don't want to make our friend the Wizard laugh. Anyway, it's time to remember something. Last week, we remembered Mannequin and kind of found it to be a good, not great comedy that was a okay, not great, with some okay, not great representation. And this week, we watched something that my younger brother very faintly remembered, which makes sense because he'd only be a few years old when this came out. It is possible we saw it in the theater anyway. Here he is from Columbus, Ohio, our friend Gravy. Hello, Gravy.
Hello. Good to be here.
Great. So just what faintly did you remember about this movie real quick? Like what was the picture in your head that stuck in your head?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like bits and pieces, like, various images and, perhaps like brief moments, like the iconic pickaxe battle at the end. A guy shooting a Winchester lever action rifle from like a railroad trestle and blowing up motorcycles and stuff. And it's, and so much time went on and I couldn't remember what this movie was. I didn't even know the title of it. And I really thought that maybe I dreamt it or something. And seeing it again this long later, it's really not shocking to wonder that. It's kind of a fever dream movie. It's pretty weird. So
yeah, it's another like real 80s oddity, 80s flavor oddity. Yeah. All right. Well, we're also going to bring my cohort from Austin, Texas, Bride of Pumpkinhead, on board.
Your cohort.
Yeah.
Hello.
That's right. When we do things, we don't always hort alone. Sometimes we cohort.
It's the sort of thing that you often talk about.
Tell me more about this.
The dogs don't like that, Jeff.
Like horticulture. Oh. Simultaneous. Excuse me, I just had to try and discourage the dog from making a lot of noise. Speaking of dogs that make a lot of noise, I'm going to bring onto the stage from Denver, Colorado, Empress Buttercup.
Yes.
Dog?
Yes.
Wow.
You have a dog that makes a lot of noise.
Oh, well, this is true.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about me. You want me to park? I'll park, baby.
Best host
I'm ready.
ever.
I'm ready. Let's do Thanks. Thanks a lot for that. Okay. Well, everyone's here, and we watched Streets of Fire, which, if you don't know, was released in 1984 by Walter Hill, a fairly unlikely individual to make a musical fantasy film, you know, mainly because the films he had made before were, you know, kind of gritty action or manly, you know, at least like kind of manly comedy, you know, like not
Well-
really anything in this vein.
Per example.
The Warriors.
Oh, that is Walter. That's right. Yeah.
That's
Thought the
Walter Hill
Warriors
film.
came later.
No, the Warriors was
Was
before.
it first?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, I thought that was like 1980, right? Wasn't it? Warriors 80, 82?
Warriors, I believe, is 78, if I'm
Ooh,
not
the-
mistaken.
Yeah,
I don't have anything in front of me right now, but I'm pretty sure that was 78. So
79.
79. All right, you got me. And he had also made Southern Comfort. I believe he made Southern Comfort before he made this, which is another real sausage fest of sweat and action. But what got Streets of Fire greenlit was 48 Hours. 1982's 48 Hours. Has anyone here seen 48 Hours?
Yes. More than once.
I've seen it, but not for a really long time.
Yeah.
I've actually been tempted to watch it, you know.
Yeah.
I like Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
And it's another case of Walter Hill doing a lot with the incidental music in the movie
Mm-hmm.
and really turning that into another character almost.
Yeah.
All the stuff he did in that one with God, what was that band? They're in it like 3 or 4 times. The boys are back in town. What was that band? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not what we're here for tonight.
No. However, 48 Hours is pretty much, I mean, it's worth checking out. But it was a huge success, you know. It was one of the films that really established Eddie Murphy.
Axel Foley.
Yeah. Well, he was Axel Foley in
Beverly Hills
Hills
Cop.
Cop. Yeah. But
Oh.
yeah.
Whoops. I still like Axel Foley.
Yeah. Still a good name. Still
Yeah.
a good name. All of his
Yeah.
characters should have been named Axel Foley. It's just one big universe here. So, and they were actually so Larry Gross helped write 48 Hours, and he and Walter Hill are watching. They're watching, you know, the final product or a work cut or something, and everybody's really happy. The producers are happy, and you know, Walter Hill just says to Larry, you know, like, hey, you know, like we should really hit up Paramount Pictures again while they're pregnant. So they, you know, this is a movie that Walter Hill wanted to make. It was on his you know, in the back of his mind for a while. He wanted to make like a comic book sort of movie, but he didn't want to adapt any existing comic books. And he wanted to make a movie that celebrated motorcycles and roadsters. Gosh, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Anyone else want to talk about the Genesis? Okay, so he's sitting there, they're making 48 Hours. You know, everyone's very happy. Paramount's like, yes, we'll go with you know, you guys' next project. So they write the script for Streets of Fire on spec, which means that they haven't optioned it yet. They're just going to write the script and then sell the script as is. So they do that, and they present it to Paramount, who, again, very happy with 48 Hours. They decide to sell it to Universal. They're like, maybe not this one. And I got to hand it to whoever was at Paramount who made that choice, because I don't know if you realize this. Streets of Fire was a troubled production. Cost a lot of money, didn't go so smooth. And
it did not do well at the box office.
Right, and it did not do well at the box office. So.
The people were not ready for a rock and roll fairy tale.
Yeah.
People are never ready for rock and roll. Until it's too late.
Yeah. So, Universal picks it up. Movie takes place in Chicago. They shoot it in LA instead. So that's expense number one. Build Chicago.
In a soundstage.
Yes.
Although really most of it is just two areas.
Yes.
Like they did the Lower Wacker Drive thing.
Uh-huh.
At least what to me that's what it reminds me of is Lower Wacker in Chicago. Under the L.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which, if you'll notice, you never actually see the train going on the tracks.
Because there was no train.
Because there was no train.
No train.
Yeah.
There was a few shots of a train, but you never saw, like, while the people were milling about underneath the elevated train line, the train.
Yeah.
Going across.
Yeah. What's funny is they did wind up traveling to Chicago for about 10 days of shooting in locations that they could not replicate, like an actual subway car. So, but that's that. So that was those were some expenses, and then in addition to building these huge, replicas of Chicago, they cover it in a tarp that cost over $1 million.
It's a big tarp.
That is a
Wow.
big tarp. Some of the cast was too young to be filming all night, so it kind of relieved them from having to only film at night. They could make the place look like it was pitch black all the time. It was also murder on the cast and crew. It was super hot, and everyone was sweating their, whatever genitalia they had right off. And then you've got sound issues with the tarp flapping. And you also have sound issues with birds nesting in the tarp. So, and none of that really was Walter Hill's idea. That was all kind of the studio. Like, they definitely were on board with his comic book land of roadsters and leather jackets and so much pomade everywhere. But
so much pomade.
For some reason, they just felt like this is what they had to do in order to,
I think Bill Paxton probably had his entire own pomade budget.
Yes.
I mean, that was some hair.
Yeah,
it was Pompadour City in that movie.
It really was, yes. And anytime you saw the back of someone's head, you saw ducktail. Like the back of everyone's head looked the same. Man, I'm having a hard time keeping my train of thought here.
And if I remember, Michael Pare and Rick Moranis did not get along with each other very well.
No, that's true. And I've got some slides here, so we're going to get into the slides, but I did just want to talk a little bit about the production and the budget. Oh, that's right. Also, again, with going way, way over budget, which is exactly what they did. There was they were trying to get the song Streets of Fire from Bruce Springsteen. They wanted to get Streets of Fire. They planned it that way. They shot it that way. And when and Springsteen had said that they could do it. But then when he finds out someone else is going to be performing the song, he says, no, you can't use Streets of Fire. You can't use my song.
Oh.
So then all of a sudden they have to bring in none other than
Jim motherfucking Steinman.
Jim motherfucking Steinman. You know. Hey Jeremy, I'm not sure you're seeing the private chat, so I just want to ask that maybe you mute your mic when you're not talking, because we are actually getting a lot of background noise from you there. So you know, please talk all you want, but you know, with the stuff going on in the background, it's a little distracting. Okay. So yes, Jim Steinman, they have him come in, and in 2 days he whips up freaking stuff that like lived on MTV for a long time after the release of this movie, because these are great songs. And again, like it's important to note he just came up with them in a couple days. And so they had already struck the theater set. They had taken the entire theater set down. But because they had to reshoot the ending, they built the whole thing back up. Cost another $1 million to put the theater back together, fill it with people again, you know, re-record the music and all that stuff. So it's really something else. But anyway, getting into the meat and potatoes of Streets of Fire, let's first talk about our hero, Michael Paré. Michael Paré was a star on the rise. He had been in only one other American film, which he was also the lead character. That was Eddie and the Cruisers. He was Eddie.
Love that movie so much.
Yeah? What about the sequel? You like the sequel?
I don't know if I saw the sequel. That's weird. It must have been super corny.
It probably was, because Michael Parry's in it, and pretty soon after Streets of Fire, he started making schlock. And it almost seems like each year of his career following Streets of Fire, he just stars in more and more films. And those films, like, you know, each year he's in, like, you know, this year he's in 4 films. Next year he's in 6 films. Now he's somehow in 12 films. You know, like, it's insane. And they all sound terrible. So Walter Hill wanted to make 3 Tom Cody films. He wanted Michael Paré to star in all 3 of them. I think that's part of why he wanted a young, fairly unknown star, is so that he could kind of tie him to a trilogy, a Tom Cody trilogy. So that didn't work out. Again, I think the numbers are over 14 million spent to create Streets of Fire.
Wow.
Less than 9 million at the box office. Although it's...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah. You what now?
Oh, no. I was just going to talk more about Michael Paré, because number one, I did not know that, what you were saying about him, that he was making all kinds of corny movies.
Yeah.
I did not know the only other movie I've seen him in. So I saw Streets of Fire. I've seen Eddie and the Cruisers. I've got to think about where he is in the movie Hope Floats. That's the only other movie I've seen. All his other movies, his giant film lists, I've not seen any of them.
Yeah.
I've not seen any of these movies.
Yeah, he's in like 10 movies last year.
I want to see this movie called Tunnel Rat. That's sounding interesting.
Tunnel Rat? Yeah, bet he
Tunnel
plays
Rat.
a cop or perhaps an exterminator.
Maybe he's living underground in New York City.
Yeah.
Or it's a Vietnam War era.
Yeah.
I had no idea he had such a
Who
huge
knows?
filmography.
Yeah. It's a surprise. It's a surprise to see. But, you know, hey, he's working. Sure, he lives in Los Angeles. He's living a good life, the celebrity life. You know, maybe he doesn't go to Oscars, but I bet he goes to a hell of an Oscar party. You know. So anyway, good for you, Michael Perry. You know,
No drama.
no drama.
No drama. He's a seat filler at the Oscars. It's fine.
That's right. That's right. No big deal. No big deal. Just work, collect that paycheck. He actually was in an unofficial sequel to Streets of Fire. I think it's called Road to Hell. It's directed by Albert Pyun. And it came out in 2008. So long live Albert Pyun and your crazy ass movies, one of which is just randomly a sequel, an unofficial sequel to an over 20-year-old movie. So hooray!
Hooray. He's still looking pretty good too, by the way.
Yeah, he doesn't look too bad. You know, only 8 years younger than my dad. His looks pretty good. And boy, does he look good in this movie. Mm-hmm. That's right. I got a banner and everything.
Oh,
boom!
You.
Variable.
Yep, that's right.
You can't just parade those around.
No.
Yeah, I like.
Here we go.
I like the male physiques featured in this film. Lots of veins, very veiny.
Yeah.
Because as you know, as I'm sure you're getting to, the villain in this film is one of everybody's favorite actors of all time.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about the villain. I think I actually have Diane Lane slides up first.
Oh,
because I definitely wanted to talk about Diane Lane as well. 18 years old when she auditioned for Streets of Fire. In fact, I believe my next Michael Perry slide, boom, has him kissing her in the rain, which was another thing that Walter Hill always wanted to have in a movie. Like, this is kind of like Walter Hill's like childhood movie, you know? All the stuff you thought was really cool. Shotguns, pomade, motorcycle, suspenders,
and kissing a hot chick in the rain.
Kissing a hot chick in the rain. And
not a drizzle either. I mean, it's a downpour, buddy.
It's a downpour. And it's also very hot. They were already covered in sweat before they started spraying them with water. I'm sure this was a really fun movie to work on under that tarp. But here she is. She is lip syncing in this scene, one of 2 Jim Steinman songs. And the band that's behind her, Face to Face, they're the actual band playing on the soundtrack. And but she's not the voice. Diane Lane does not sing for this movie. The vocalist for Face to Face was a female vocalist.
For this project, they were called Fire Incorporated.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yes,
they're officially listed as Fire Incorporated on the soundtrack. Or Fire Inc. if you're into the brevity thing.
Right.
And Laurie Sargent, I believe, was the lead singer on these 2 songs.
Yeah. Well, she has a voice that really lends itself to Steinman. I mean, they found the right girl to sing this song.
Absolutely.
And just, can you just give us a little rundown of what we should know Steinman from? You know, for anyone who's listening who maybe doesn't know some of the stuff that he's very
And the
famous
thing about
for.
Jim is
Uh-huh.
you may know him and not even realize it.
Yeah.
Because he did so many songs for so many people, and he had such a broad range of what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Although no matter what he does, it's going to be a little Wagnerian.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's Jim Steinman is known for Wagnerian rock and roll, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But you might know him, of course. Probably his most famous is Anything Good You've Ever Liked from Meatloaf.
Correct.
Bat Out of Hell was completely Jim Steinman. Bat Out of Hell 2 was completely Jim Steinman. Bonnie Tyler had a
Mm-hmm.
couple of hits off Jim Steinman.
Yeah.
One of which was Total Eclipse of the Heart,
Mm-hmm.
which was actually written for a vampire stage musical.
And then there was also, didn't he also write Holding Out for a Hero?
Holding Out for a Hero was another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if he wrote that, because that song kept popping in my head after I saw this movie.
Yeah.
Air Supply.
Air Supply, really?
Air Supply. Making Love Out of Nothing at All.
Wow.
And Barbra Streisand covered a Jim Steinman song.
Really?
It was actually one from his solo album, which is fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I'm married, I'm firmly convinced. It was one of our first dates together, and I told Tara, I want you to hear this song.
Yeah.
And I put on the title track from Jim Steinman's solo album, Bad for Good, which is, it's a Jim Steinman song, so it's like 20 minutes long. And she just sits there in silence the whole time. And when it's over, she said, I think I love you.
Oh.
Because we have, I guess, the same taste.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But no, Barbra Streisand covered Left in the Dark, which is not one of my favorite Jim Steinman songs, so she can have it.
Yeah.
Among others, but those are the big ones that you're most likely to have known.
I don't know if I've ever heard his voice. I'm going to have to look that up.
Oh, also, if you were a fan of the WWE in the middle 80s, the first album they released, the wrestling album, side 2 opens with Jim Steinman's attempt at writing Hulk Hogan's theme song.
Really?
Because they wound up going with the Rick Derringer song.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim Steinman rewrote, I want to say for Bonnie Tyler, he rewrote that song with new lyrics for Bonnie Tyler. But yes, he wrote Hulk's Theme is the actual name of the song.
I'm not throwing away what I wrote for Hulk. He doesn't like it. He's just an idiot.
Well,
That's
Jim
right.
is well known for reusing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young, the song that closes Streets of Fire. There's a line in there that he had previously used on a song on his solo album. The whole Godspeed, Godspeed.
Yeah.
He has used that 2 or 3 times in various songs.
Cool.
Adam.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering, is this outfit the opening outfit, or was this the finale?
No, this is
the opening.
I believe this is the opening song that you have the picture of.
Yeah. Oh, hello.
Yeah, quite a dress. Do we do the red dress? Do we do the black dress?
Right.
Why not both?
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay.
I love it.
Because she's wearing all red in the finale. That's correct. And I do have that. I have that here with us as well. And I want to say hello to Adam. I want to say hello to Barbara. Barbara, like a lot of people, has caught a bug, a pretty nasty one. So we miss you very much, but we're glad that you're able to pop in and say hello. And please feel free to heckle us while we try and schlep through this without you. Here's another great picture of Diane Lane performing on stage, and even though she didn't do the lyrics, it wasn't her voice, she really had sing face down. She, in my opinion, she really looked like she was belting it out.
Oh, totally believable performance. Yes.
Yeah, that's some of the best lip syncing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Here we are. Now we have that finale stage. When you look at that stage, just think about them having to strike that down because they couldn't use the song they record. They strike it down, then they have to put it all back together and fill it full of people again. Just incredible. This movie just ate up money, just ate it up. But yeah. So there she is, and she is, one of a lot of very great female characters in this movie. In fact, I feel like for second billing, Diane Lane really isn't in this movie, second billing level. But now we're going to talk about this man right here. Storyline's pretty simple. He's the bad guy. He kidnaps pop star for really the most, nefarious of reasons, the worst of reasons. He just, yeah. His just his whole oh yeah, you're gonna hang out with me, they just kind of really soften what exactly his intentions are with some,
apparently
fluffy dialogue, but yeah, that's not really.
Yeah, apparently he can't help himself around pretty girls.
Yeah, exactly. So, but as promised, here he is.
In black vinyl waders.
Boom!
And he's fireproof.
Yeah, his hairstyle is just classic.
That thing. I don't know how you do that, man. You have to use 2 combs, right? 2 at once.
I think it takes a piece of industrial equipment.
Yeah, Gravy, you've had a pompadour before.
Many times.
What'd you do with that? What'd you put in there?
Well, I gotta say, some classic pomade that looks like some Dawn dish soap that's just been sitting on the shelf for a really long time, and an old school black comb, plastic comb. Really, it can be done.
Well, he looks great, and I use this one because this has Lee Ving in it. Lee Ving from the
the notorious punk
notorious
band
Fear. God damn it! Why was I? I was drawing a blank for some reason.
One of the first people to be banned from ever reappearing on Saturday Night Live.
Correct. Which was all John Belushi's fault. So, yeah. Sorry about that. Forgot what band he was in. It wasn't really my era, I was still too young. So, Germ, Fear. Okay. No one beat me up because I don't have punk rock credentials anymore.
Whereas I was watching Saturday Night Live the night that the Fear incident took place.
Oh, really? You saw it live on TV?
I saw it live.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it was glorious.
Yeah. He, Ed Begley Jr. is also in Streets of Fire. I barely remember him from it. I'm not even sure, exactly where he pops up. But he's the hobo
that tells them where Diane Lane is.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's him.
All right. Okay. Well, just a year before, he and Lee Ving started the same movie called Get Crazy, which is a rock and roll comedy starring Daniel Stern, which is pretty awesome. If you ever are able to get your hands on Get Crazy, it's Leaving, basically playing the same character he plays in Streets of Fire. So anyway, Willem Dafoe kidnaps this poor lady because he just can't control himself around pretty girls. So Rick Moranis here hires Michael Pere, who is returning to town. He's been in the war, and he's like, sure, I'll be a soldier for hire. For $10,000, I'll bring back, coincidentally, my ex-girlfriend. You know, we learn all this pretty quickly. You know, there's a lot of this stuff just thrown at you right away. You know, she's on stage, she's performing, she gets kidnapped. They're like, oh, well, you're in town, you'll take care of it. You used to go out with her. That sounds like a good idea. And as Mick did mention before, Michael Pere did not like Rick Moranis. 2 reasons for this. One, Rick Moranis, very good friends with producer Joel Silver. You know, this is Joel Silver's baby. He's just ushering this straight from 48 Hours, just ushering it right in, like practically the same production, writing, and directing staff. And also Rick Moranis, maybe what was a little bit of like method acting, I would hope, kept picking on Michael Pere, teasing him for being a tough guy, being like, oh, you're so tough, you know, like that. And Michael Pere, not a funny man. I don't know if you look at all the movies he's made over the years, like, you know, including the 10 that he made last year.
Not a lot of comedies.
Not a lot of comedies. Not a lot of intentional comedies.
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up, because it seemed to lend itself well to the dynamic that the two characters have in the story, because they don't like each other at all.
Yeah, they do not like each other at all. And I don't know that much about Rick Moranis, so I don't know if, like, in real life he was kind of douchey. I don't know if, you know, I know he retired, right? Like he
retired to take care of his kids when his wife passed away.
Oh, well.
Yeah, he's a pretty stand-up guy. Like, he's just like this low-key cool human. So the fact that Michael Pere didn't like him is a little sus to me.
Well, no, he was being a dick. He was.
It sounds like he was being a dick. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, but I mean, like, how you deal with someone being a dick to you, you know, may reveal the dick in yourself.
Yeah, the inner dick, the dick you didn't know was there. That's beautiful gravy. That's gravy. Gonna give that room to breathe. Okay, moving on. After, like,
oh man,
Rick Moranis is kind of playing against part, you know, because he's like super tough. He's always like, even though he's wearing like a bow tie, you know, he's always got nice zoot suit jackets. Like, even like the square guy has like outstanding clothes in this movie, and he's always talking real tough, you know, because he's supposed to be like the club producer and manager, you know. So it's not exactly what Rick Moranis is known for, to be like the big tough guy. And yeah, I think that antagonism shows on screen. And yeah, since we know that Rick's a stand-up guy, we'll just say that that's what he was going for. He was trying to create some backseat, you know.
Yeah, I was going to thank you, Barbara, because I was going to say the reason he stayed home to take care of his children is because his wife died.
Yeah, yeah, that's sad. Yeah.
Sorry, Rick.
Yeah. Okay. And now I also want to talk about the badass women who are like all over this movie. not an accident. If you look at the movies that Walter Hill directed before Streets of Fire, he started to get some flack for just basically doing one sausage party after another. And he, I think he got a little self-conscious about it, and he decided that he wanted some like tough girls in here. So you'll notice the presence of Tom Cody's sister, who runs the diner. She's a pretty tough, no-nonsense lady. The damsel in distress, not exactly your typical, like she's no pushover. She's really tough, And then you've got McCoy here, who is also a soldier and is like, hey, I'll help you out, Michael Pere. We'll do this thing. And this is a really great piece of information. And I really like this actress, even though she's not in a lot of movies that I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of her as an actress. She is very good. She's been nominated for an Oscar before, and she came in to audition for the role of Tom Cody's sister, but she really liked the role of sidekick. And the two things they were thinking about with sidekick is that it was going to be kind of a chubby guy or a Hispanic guy. And they were looking at James Edward Olmos to be this character. But when she came in and she read for Tom Cody's sister, she was like, my favorite part in this movie is the sidekick, and I think we should do that. I think you should give me that role. And Walter Hill agreed with her. And that's exactly what happened. He's like, he rewrites the role so that it's now a lady. And he even renames her too. Gives her the name McCoy. And she fucking rules in this movie. You don't want to mess with McCoy. She's pretty great from start to finish, and she's just like very satisfyingly no nonsense. And sorry, I don't have a very good picture of it, but that is Tom Cody's sister, and like her first Hollywood movie role was in The Warriors. She's like the one female character in The Warriors.
Well, except for the gang.
Yeah, except for the gang. But, she's the one female character that has lines outside of their fight scene. Like she's in more than one scene. She's, and also the DJ. I forget. Yeah, the DJ. DJ, coincidentally, also in Streets of Fire. She is the bus driver, right? Or subway driver. I don't know. I know I just watched it a week ago.
And we talked about her when we watched it.
Yeah,
and yeah,
she's great.
It's around the subway time.
Yeah, she's in Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. She's sadly no longer with us, but she rose to fame in Godspell. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah, Godspell. Okay, she's in that movie. That was her first movie, Godspell. She's in the production. And then he also has help for Bill Paxton, who's sporting a missing tooth and hair larger than his forehead somehow. Ladies and gentlemen.
Is this a screen grab or is this an actual photo? Because this picture is hilarious.
I believe this to be a screen grab. Like it's just, I just use what I can. But yeah, like when I found this, I actually found it in meme form as well. So this is a very memeable Bill Paxton for you. He's me. He reminds me of me. He's Jeff Paxton. No, very hilarious Bill Paxton. And I do really like his bartender character who, picks up a baseball bat and helps fight in the big finale. Likes to get in fights, just like everyone else. They all like to get in fights. So there's Bill Paxton. And then they also get help from these guys. And this was the big hit. This was the big MTV hit from the movie. Anyone who was around when this film came out, you remember this song, you know. It's on oldie stations a lot still. It still gets a lot of traffic. I Can Dream About You.
Hey, I
And
wonder,
the one casting decision that I have never understood is why is Robert Townsend a member of this fictional band? Because he doesn't do anything that he's famous for. He's a funny guy, and I don't know that he talks
Agree,
twice in the
Adam.
movie.
I've been singing it too, Barbara. I'm singing it in my head right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure we won't get copyright dinged if someone wants to sing it. I'm not going to play the actual song, but anyone wants to belt it out.
Yeah, no.
I can dream about you if I can hold you tonight.
Oh my.
Oh,
That's all you get.
that's it.
I wonder. I'd be curious to watch the video for that song and see if it was one of those '80s videos where they showed clips of the movie during the video.
They do.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely. Especially the moonwalk on the moving sidewalks line.
Oh,
that's very prominent.
Yeah.
In the video.
Yeah. I mean, 84. Moonwalk's still big. Moonwalk's still big. So, when they did the moonwalk in the movie, that was a big deal. Who knows? Maybe that's how Robert Townsend got the part. He was just auditioning for a lot of stuff at the time. So maybe they were like, okay, read some lines. Okay, do the moonwalk. He does the moonwalk.
You got the part. Yeah.
So who knows? But yeah, it's probably wasn't a singing voice. And then right at the very end, who shows up? Man, freaking E.G. Bailey. And a little bit of trivia. She didn't like this movie because she was hoping she would finally get to sing. She was like, oh, it's a musical movie. Great, And then she shows up and they're like, oh, yeah, you're the quirky best friend who just pops in at the end, just like every single other fucking movie that we keep sticking you in. E.G. Bailey, you don't deserve this. You're too good for this.
We love you, Dottie.
We love you, Dottie. We love you.
But here's a fun game you can play. If you're going to watch this movie, every time she's on screen, close your eyes and imagine Chucky from Rugrats is in this movie. Because she's obviously using the exact same voice she uses for Chucky. And it's hilarious.
Yeah, and that's probably, they probably asked for that voice, right? See, Adam loves E.G. Bailey. Dude, I'm a super fan. And I don't even like Rugrats. I just love everything she did before, like she got rich, But
she's also Princess Buttercup.
Yeah.
The other Princess Buttercup. Sorry.
She's Princess Buttercup.
I'm Empress Buttercup.
That's right. You are Empress Buttercup.
So, yeah. But yeah, she's great, and she definitely does not deserve kind of the short shrift that she's given. And now I do we talked a little bit about the set. This is kind of a movie that I think it'd be cool to have seen the way that it all went down. Where you're just look at everything that's just in this shot, all built for the film. That's incredible. Okay, that's maybe a little too small. There we go. Look at this shot with all these motorcycles. It's a sound stage, man. Incredible. It's not Chicago at all.
I actually like that that they did it this way personally, because I don't know, I never really thought, like, when I was watching it, I didn't even like think of it as Chicago, really. You know, they even say at the beginning of the movie, it's like another time, another place.
Exactly.
You know, I don't feel like any of these places were really real. You know, this is all like kind of like fairy tale comic book land. And so it's like, it has that like heavy film set, like highly developed film set thing that you might see in some of like Tim Burton's really good stuff, you know, and things like that. And I think they pulled it off exceptionally well.
And how hard would it have been to eliminate all of the anachronisms had they been in modern 1980s Chicago?
Right.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. And there, it's like, and I love that about this movie, that it's it's definitely like, you feel like the creative force behind this is really like childhood fantasy stuff. They grew up during the 50s and 60s, biker gangs, hot rods, you know, all that stuff. And, you know, this was just like one of those examples of the 80s obsession with those, because you had these adults who grew up during those times, like making movies, making media productions, and they were bringing all that stuff back because that's what they were into when they were younger, you know. So you had like this big old Americana biker gang, greaser, hot rods, cars thing happening, you know. It was real big, you know. So that like even influenced you know, my generation, you know, because when I became a young adult, what was I doing? I was combing ducktails into my hair and cuffing my jeans and wearing a wallet chain. And after I saw this movie, now I understand why.
Yeah. It's because you wanted to rage like little Willem Dafoe.
You goddamn right I did. You goddamn right.
Yeah. I forgot this banner that actually goes with this picture here, because you know, you want to talk a little bit about Michael Pere's dialogue. This movie does have some really fun, really good lines, and you know,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, he gets to belt out a lot, you know, and so does Willem Dafoe.
They were like weirdly, aggressively, barely friendly with each other. It was a very funny dialogue to me.
Yeah. Pere and Moranis never seem to really like. Yeah, they're just, you know.
I think they were probably just attracted to each other, and that was what was making them mad.
It's a, you know, there's a lot of possible subtext there, you know. Very, very possible. Lots of leather daddies, you know. So I'll just keep going. Oh man, I just kind of want to just stay on Paxton for a while.
I think it's a prosthetic.
You think it's
a weave?
Fake hair? Could be. Boy, he was really yucking it up back then. You know, like they would give him a role, and he's like, "I'm gonna stick out. You know, like, he knew how to do it. So, and there, I just wanted to show a picture of like, this is the stage at the end. This is what they took down after shooting it with Springsteen's Streets of Fire, that they then had to put back together at the cost of $1 million to reshoot for Steinman's What It Means to Be Young.
Wow, and you know, I was just thinking like a $5 million loss in 1984 was a lot of money in 1984.
A lot of money. I looked at a portion of a Jim Steinman interview where he was talking about Streets of Fire. And Jim Steinman said that he gets asked about this, and he brings up to multiple people involved with the production, hey, this script is crap. Keeps bringing that up. This script is crap. And the answer he keeps getting is, it's a visual movie, Jim. Don't worry about it. It's all visuals. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to work out. And Jim Steinman is then sitting down with the editor and Joel Silver. And Joel Silver is like, oh my God, this movie is terrible. He's like, this script is crap. And Jim's like, I've been saying that, Joel Silver is melting down in front of Jim because he's like, what am I going to do now? This movie cost a fortune. And he's sitting there, watching it, watching all that money just whittle away right in front of him. And Joel Silver was also quoted. The tagline for Streets of Fire was the song title, "Tonight is what it means to be young," right? And when he saw the returns coming in, he was like, "Tonight's what it means to be dead." It was Joel Silver's comment on that.
Oh. Well, that's rough.
Yeah. He was not happy. And rightfully so, because it did fail. It was a critical failure too. And I thought that was interesting, Just FYI, we're getting some background noise on someone's mic real bad, so not sure who's got the okay. Don't want to discourage anyone from talking. Just want to let you all know that sometimes we're getting a little funk coming in. So absolutely true. By the way, Adam, Purple Rain does stand up. I think that's a good one still.
I wanted to know how much you think that all that fucking neon in the background, because this is, unless LED lights were invented back then, which I don't know.
No, that's neon. That's neon. And
that's a lot of neon.
Yeah, that's a lot of neon. Neon's expensive, so
very expensive, very 80s, but they're using designs and patterns that you would see in the late 50s and early 60s. I think it's a really fun combination.
Yeah.
And really expensive.
They lit things differently for different parts of the city, this made up version of Chicago. And this is the part of town that got lit up with neon. So there's a lot, when you're in this area, there's a lot of neon. I wish I had good slides of the diner that Tom Cody's sister works in, because I personally am a diner person. I love diners. When I travel, I always look for the greasy spoon. Even as a vegetarian, I'm still like, I don't care. I'm going to be able to order something off the menu, so. And I love Chrome. I love Formica. And man, the diner that Tom Cody's sister works, I wanted to be sitting at that bar for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that there was a scuffle in the diner. That involved butterfly knives. Butterfly knives and switchblades were, of course, enjoying a great renaissance in 80s cinema.
Right.
As kids, we were all obsessed with butterfly knives,
Yeah.
When we watched this and that scene went down, I was like, "Oh, I remember this." Yes. This was so badass,
He steals the butterfly knife from him, and a few things
really
about Michael Perry.
Flicking around.
Yeah. Few things about Michael Perry in this film. One is that he had been a chef, so he had twirled some knives before. and he helped frame that scene. As a result, he wanted to be able to, he wanted to steal the knife from the guy. So that's some like real Michael Pere handiwork right there. Also, he didn't know how to ride a motorcycle or a stick shift, so he surreptitiously got a crash course, a 1-day crash course in both those things.
Nice.
Next time you watch Streets of Fire, keep an eye out for that. See if you can maybe tell that he doesn't exactly know what he's doing on those things, like
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm impressed, very impressed, because and my summation, I don't think you ever would have known. So
when I learned to drive a stick, I literally did not have a chance to learn. I just got in it and had to start driving. So driving was learning, but I was driving myself and my little brother to school. And so that's just the way I learned.
Yeah.
Best way to learn to stick is to just drive one every day for like a month, and eventually you'll get the hang of it.
I was so scared on my first 4-way stop that had a little hill. I thought I was going to die, but it was fine. I survived.
Yep, slipping the clutch on the backslide. It's good times.
Okay, well.
That's what happens when you grind the gears.
Yeah. That's your dad when you burn the clutch.
My dad actually had a pompadour, but he didn't make faces like that. But close.
That is a heck of a mall. Look at that. Jeez, ew.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to just include this one at the end because
I don't think he's demonic.
Yeah, I don't know if I get Willem Dafoe attraction. I definitely get admiring him as an actor, enjoying what he does.
Yes.
Like he really sometimes people really give him an arc, and sometimes people are just like, you do you, Willem. And like either way, he is a treat. He is an absolute treat, Yeah.
He's always awesome. I love Willem Dafoe. Like it's like you said, like he can kind of just do a character and make it work, or he can tear right into a script like The Lighthouse. Man, he was amazing in The Lighthouse.
God, yes.
Oh yeah.
Loved that.
I mean, did you see Poor Things? I felt like he was a little bit more challenged in Poor Things than what I was expecting, because you see in the trailer he's just wearing like a lot of makeup, and you're like, oh yeah, they just went Willem for Willem, but actually his character like had some real stuff to it. It's impressive. So
yeah, I have not seen that yet, but it's definitely high on the list. It looks really good.
I liked it a lot.
I'm considering seeing it, although I have, as a general rule, stopped watching his movies. Not Dafoe, but what's his name? Yorgos Lanthimos?
Yeah.
Fake
Yorgos
Chicago.
Lanthimos. Yeah. Dude, I'm a Yorgos fanboy. But that is why Willem's mouth is so big, is so he can fit as much scenery in there as possible. Now, at any one given time, he had extra teeth installed, so just for that very purpose.
It does look like he has got a few extras in that bottom row.
It does, or like his jaw has kind of unhinged a little bit, like it went like,
like a snake,
like a snake about to eat this entire film. One more thing that I read so many interesting things about this movie. I've got to tell you, Jeremy, you really picked a film rich with history and trivia, like awesome. so much in this movie. Walter Hill didn't even set out to do a musical at first. Believe it or not, it was the popularity of fame and the fact that he's kind of pragmatic capitalist that led Walter Hill to be like, okay, I'll make this a musical then. Like,
Yeah.
we'll get on that train. And not only like, or Splash Dance. I think it was Splash Dance. It was Splash Dance actually might have been the super successful film of the hour that kind of had him, shoehorning in the musical element, something he hadn't really considered doing beforehand, and actually hired the dancing double from Splash Dance to dance in the bar scene in Streets of Fire.
Oh,
you remember
wow.
there's a there's a somewhat androgynous dancer in the bar scene, and there's actually somewhere in the world is a rated R version of Streets of Fire, and there's a topless portion of that dance scene that was shot. Also, a lot more F-bombs, and the original ending had Raven getting stabbed to death. So they shot some rated R stuff. The studio thought, you know what? Musical fantasy, let's go ahead and make this PG. Let's not do this. Let's not do this rated R. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I would actually. I guess maybe to clarify for the show. I mean, I'd be curious what you guys think. It's a movie where music is a big component. It's a movie with songs in it, but is it really a musical? They don't tell any narrative through song.
No.
There's no exposition through song. The music performances are exactly that in the context of the story. Musical performances, and there's only a couple of them, but they're all great too. I think they're. I just thought I would point out.
No, it's not a classic musical by any means.
Yeah, I love the song and the performance in the battery greaser bar. In the battery greaser bar. That's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I think songs by the Blasters.
Yeah, the Blasters, yes. The actual great. Blasters are in there, yes.
And they're awesome, and I love that scene. And
who Walter Hill had wanted in 48 Hours.
Oh, he wanted them to be the band in 48
instead
hours.
of the Busboys. It was supposed to be the Blasters, and they turned him down and regretted it later, which is how he got him for Streets of Fire.
He sure got he really spent a lot of clout on this movie, He was really, really swinging for the fences, Walter Hill.
Well, God, Diane Lane turned down Splash and something else that was hugely popular. Risky Business. She turned down Splash and Risky Business to do Streets of Fire.
Yeah. It's a great role, though. And I realized earlier I said Splash Dance instead of Flash Dance. I just want to apologize. In explanation, when I was young, I worked in the back room of a video store. I saw all the porn parodies. Sometimes I get my wires crossed, okay? Sorry. There certainly is a Splash Dance, but no, it's Flash Dance, which was a very popular money-making endeavor.
Yeah, I guess it is sad because I think that you brought that up, those two other movies. Like, I think this movie's more interesting than those other movies, and I think it's a more interesting role and proposition. I think it says a lot about her, kind of interest as an actress for that she chose to do this. Unfortunately, from what I read, it's like after this movie flopped, and there was like one other two that she did that did not do well. She took a hiatus from acting. She was like, I gotta, she was young. She just did two movies that did not do well at the box office, and she stepped away from acting for quite a while.
Oh, thank you for putting my typos on screen.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay now. I'll own it. I'm a shitty typist.
No. we're working fast. We're working fast and loose here. That's all. And also another thing to point out, and I think this goes along the same lines of, is this a musical? And I completely agree with you, Gravy, that when it's an actual musical, the songs are supposed to push the plot forward. Something is by and large, something's supposed to happen from the start of the song to the end of the song. At least one of the songs. You can have songs that where nothing happens and it's just a great song.
But part of the story is told through the song.
Yeah, but if it's a real musical, in my opinion, you should be progressing the story at some point, or at least more integration than just we're performing on a stage. And Walter Hill was very humbled by his experience making this film. When you make a musical, you tend to write it, cast it, and then rehearse it a lot before you start filming. You're not supposed to write it, cast it, start filming immediately, which is what you do with anything that pretty much isn't a musical or something that's going to involve a lot of fight scenes or an actor to gain a lot of weight or learn a different language or what have you, usually once you've cast it, that's it. You're just going to go right on in, You're not going to waste a lot of time rehearsing. But if you're making a musical, you have to rehearse. That's a lot of singing, a lot of dancing, a lot of moving. You're going to be doing long takes, So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a musical. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
Also starring Rick Moranis.
He's awesome. He was everywhere there for a while.
Yeah. He was great. All right. Well, we had a wonderful, wonderful discussion about Streets of Fire. Really enjoyed it. And I'm wondering if we should all weigh in now. As we talked about at the beginning, and I am with Gravy on this. I had a vague recollection of this. I just happened to have seen a print of this a few years ago in the theater. So I had already been reintroduced to Streets of Fire, but I had a very vague recollection, and that was pretty much built around what Walter Hill was going for, which is he wanted to do a fantasy world that was, full of leather jackets, full of violence, full of youth. No one in this movie, the only people who are old in this movie are the cops. Everybody else is essentially a kid, and he wanted kissing in the rain. He wanted a knife fight. He wanted, an army of motorcycles. Stuff he thought was cool the whole time he was growing up, It's like a love letter to his youth a little bit. So that's what he really wanted to make with this movie. And I feel like those are the lasting images that were stuck in my head as a kid, having seen it, and then, kind of not really knowing what the hell it was for decades, was just that it was a lot of cool and a lot of music. And boy, oh boy, did I know that it had the song I Could Dream About You in it. Because there is no separating this film from that song. And like a lot of songs that came out with movies, that song has two videos, one that's Streets of Fire and one that isn't. And who gives a shit about the one that isn't? I have no idea what it's like, but I can tell you that the one that was for Streets of Fire used to play every hour on the hour for a significant portion of my childhood. I watched a lot of MTV. I saw that video a lot,
But actually has a different singer than the singer you hear in the movie.
Yes, exactly. Oh, wait a minute. Someone different sings it in the movie?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there's one guy doing the voice in the movie,
Uh-huh.
Winston Ford,
Mm.
and then Dan Hartman.
Dan Hartman. Yes,
Dan
I was like, it's a
Hartman is
D
the one
name.
you
Yeah.
hear on the radio, and I
Yeah.
believe in the video.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think as far as telling our audience whether or not they should revisit Streets of Fire, if you've been listening to this whole conversation, you might have an idea already. We'll start with Gravy Ship. Ahoy, Captain.
Ahoy!
You picked this. It was that faint little whisper in the back of your head.
Yep.
Tell us now. Tell us what it was like.
Oh, it was great. I had a great time watching it. If anybody has like some recollection of this movie or is like, oh, I really like that, I should go back and watch it. I'd say you should. And unlike some of the other movies we've seen, I mean, I would actually totally recommend people like if I thought that they would like it, you know. But I was actually just talking to one of my sons and his girlfriend today, and I was talking about it, and and I said, I think you guys ought to watch it. I think you guys would dig it. You know, it's neat. I think it's a total fever dream. It's this indulgent kind of like childhood fantasy. You know, definitely Walter Hill, the guy that wrote it, like this. It's very indulgent. It's very strange. It's very weird. It's certainly kind of hokey, but I think it's a lot of fun. And when I was a kid, I was really I found myself really swept up in like the whole emotions of it and stuff. I remember like thinking it was like like romantic and exciting. And yeah, it turns out I also like motorcycles and cars and rock and roll, bars, diners. I lifelong intense love of diners. And yeah, I just totally but uh I recently, coincidentally, I was in Chicago and I was at the School of the Art. I was at the Art Institute.
Oh yeah.
And they have Nighthawks by Edward Hopper, which has been a painting I've always loved, but to see it in person is a spiritual experience. I mean, it's one of those pieces that if you haven't seen it in person, you haven't looked at that painting. And
so you saw Nighthawks in person?
Yes, and nice. I stood there and looked at it for a very long time. So much more than just a few people sitting in a diner. It tells it's a whole commentary on urban life. And I like how this movie is all about like living in the city. It's like subterranean, it's unnatural, it's dark, but it's still spirited. And yeah, I mean, I think it was really probably something that really inspired my love of all of those things. And yeah, I dig it. It's a salvage title for sure.
Awesome. And I just want to point out that both you and Barbara, parents here on our panel, are saying that you would recommend this to your kids. Something I don't think we've heard once on Total Recall yet. Not only do we have what you're both calling a salvage title, but we also have something that we would recommend extra generationally, like that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, Mick, Jeff, do you guys think that I'm correct in assuming that this movie was kind of a lost gem and has just gotten like a resurgence of attention in the last decade or so?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I would say that this is a better movie than what it was thought of when it was released, how it was received by audiences, how it was received by critics. Certainly, I would say that this is something that I think lives longer than its peers. In fact, I actually meant to look up what other movies were released this weekend and what was in the top 5, and I forgot about that. I did, obviously I did some research, but it's always interesting to see like what else came out and how they fared.
But yeah, Shout Factory did a really nice steelbook of it a few years ago that came with the poster.
Oh, cool.
Which is hanging right up there.
Yeah. And I think that it's kind of a miracle how great the music is.
Yeah, music's really
when
really
you
good.
think of just kind of how a little bit slapdash it all was, like really the only thing
we didn't even talk about the score.
Yeah.
The score's fantastic. Yeah.
Which was also completely redone.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, is that they had a score. They had a like what was basically an established. Sorry guys, my dogs. Come on guys, stop wrestling for 5 seconds. All right. So they that's right. They had a composer who does a lot of like film scores, and he freaking went over and over and a third time, and then they just went with Ry Cooder instead. And
great call.
Thank God. Yeah. Boy.
Ry Cooder's score is fantastic.
The Ry Cooder score is fantastic.
Thanks, Wizard, for bringing that up. We had not discussed that.
That's right. So many things.
Actually, the score that was used for this film was originally written for Stoker Ace. The Burt Reynolds car movie.
Wow.
And was not used for Stoker Ace.
Whoa.
And was transplanted for this movie.
That's crazy.
Wow. So
fit right.
One other thing I want to tell you, we're going to get to other folks' opinions. Don't worry. But one more thing I want to tell you about Jim Steinman in this movie, because I also thought this was fucking hilarious. So, like, they hire him. He's got 2 songs in 2 days. The man's amazing, right? Later on, Jim Steinman hears someone giving a hard time about like complaining, grousing about how he had dragged his feet to make the songs for months and months and months and cost them so much money as a result. A reference to having to rebuild the stage set again, right? Which was a very expensive thing that they had to do. So that really stuck out, it's terrible to have to strike a set that big and then put it all back together and then fill it with people and reshoot a scene of that, immensity. That's a lot of money. And Jim Steinman's like, who told you that? Because I was signed on, and I delivered, I had 2 days and I did it. And so he goes back to the producer. I can't remember which producer it was. It wasn't Joel Silver.
It was Jimmy Iovine.
Okay. He goes back to him and he's like, what are you saying about me? And he's like, look, Jim, I'm sorry, but I had to have a scapegoat. You're talented. You're an artist. You always have an in with these people. I have to work any angle I can. You must forgive me. It's all I have. He's just like, you have nothing to worry about, Jim. This is my life. I had to blame you. I had to.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out, if anyone recognizes the names of Walter Hill and Joel Silver and Larry Gross, and you're like, where have I seen this stack of names before? Tales of the Crypt. Just wanted to throw that out there too. Walter Hill directed the first Tales of the Crypt, and for the first few seasons, he directed at least 1 episode of Tales of the Crypt. So,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Empress, you want to go next? Empress, sure. Please tell us. Please talk to us about Streets of Fire.
I agree with you, Jeff. I think this movie probably is better received now than maybe it was at the time. I was only 14 when this movie came out, which is super funny to me. I do remember it, but yeah, I thought it was fun and hilarious and awesome and thumbs up all the way. Excellent.
Excellent. Any particular thing that really made it for you that stood out that you were like, yeah, this is why I would recommend this?
Oh yeah, to me, I just thought it was like to me it had more of a comic book feel, like a more so than a musical. But I think the music is important in this movie too, so I thought that was awesome. I thought it did. I definitely felt like it was Warriors-esque with the leather pants, like just the costuming and the characters, and just how like extreme everyone was. Like Willem Dafoe, like that, he was just fucking hilarious to me.
Yeah, and Subway Obsession.
Yeah, it just had that feel to it. But that's not bad. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
So,
no.
So yeah, no, I just thought it was super fun, and I was cracking up. I thought it was awesome.
Awesome.
I love Diane Lane. There's no doubt her outfits were fire as fuck. So you know, everything about it was cool. I did like the half black, half red, half dress, half pants situation. That's like a Gemini's dream right there.
I would do it. Do it.
It's awesome.
I would wear that.
She looked great.
That. Yeah. Hey, pull off the half black, half red. You know.
I did forget to mention that.
Oh, and sorry about the crazy little beast over here, but I did also want to mention the girl's hair was fire too. Let's not just talk about the men's pompadours.
That is true. She had great hair. Cody's sister, Reva. Man. Reva. That was the character's name, Reva. She had nice hair too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. They had really good feathers.
Man, we've got Adam saying this is in top 25 film territory.
No, Adam and I are talking about something else.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, Rock and Rule. Oh, I missed it. Boy, you guys are going fast. All right. Rock and Rule is in top 25 films. Well, it belongs there.
There's nothing wrong with going nowhere, Jeff.
Yeah,
but you should be going nowhere fast.
Nothing wrong with going nowhere.
And I was playing that song on my stereo last night, and just rocking out to it. And and Eli did not object. He was like, yeah, it's got like a real 80s sound to it.
Steinman appeals to all ages.
Yeah. Jeremy, you got to play some Bat Out of Hell for him, you know.
Yeah, I should definitely get some Meatloaf rocking. I haven't listened to any Meatloaf in quite a while.
It's invigorating.
Yeah,
you know, I highly recommend.
It's so high energy. It's so intense.
Start with the title song, "Bat Out of Hell." That's the entry point.
Yeah,
because if you're not down for that, you're just not down with it. Bat Out of Hell is the entry point, and that's you're in for something.
I was almost rudely interrupting Empress Buttercup, but I did forget to mention, you know, we're talking about the great female characters in the movie, the great actresses involved, but like, you know, all these influences the movie seems to have had on my young psyche. I don't know, but you know, when I first met my wife, she her look was not unlike Diane Lane's in this picture.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Her hair was really dark. She usually had some red lipstick. And
Jeremy, you had a pretty good head of hair at that time, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Like, I think, you know,
yeah,
you look a little sporty.
Oh, that's what children will do to you.
Yeah,
they'll rob you of all your good hair.
I got no kids, but I don't have an explanation.
I think maybe just time does that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way to know who's gonna get lucky.
Yeah. Well, I think we all have the feel goods about this title, but I do want to hear from Brian of Pumpkinhead.
Yes.
Hey. Yeah. Am I coming in over and out?
Yeah.
You're
I think I was having
yeah.
some. Okay. I think I was having internet issues earlier. I really have nothing to add to all of the great points that have been made. Great movie. I had so much fun watching it. It was just so drenched in angst. I loved it.
Oh
Yes, Exhibit A.
Wait, I forgot. Had you seen it before?
I saw it as an adult, maybe like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago at like a Weird Wednesday or something.
Yeah.
And I remember loving it, but when we were going into it for this viewing, I didn't like remember a single detail except for the rubber waiters.
They make an impression.
How could you forget that?
Yeah.
He's got the chesticles out. He's got the chesticles out.
Yeah, who needs a shirt? I got all I need.
That
is one very strange thing this movie does. Like a lot of its look, is more predictable than those waiters.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was really cool how they sort of threw like 50s and 80s like dress and aesthetic together in this like just like really neato way. But yeah, that particular outfit, like that's just out of left field. Which is great. Like it's great.
It seems extra flammable. Like seriously, dude.
Yeah, like
there's nothing protecting his shoulders. His shoulders are like dangerous.
Yeah, like it'll melt on him.
That's what I was about to say. The worst part about it is it wouldn't like flame up; it would just melt into his skin.
Yeah, but who's going to tell him not to do it? I mean, he's the boss.
Right.
He's that hardcore, man. He just doesn't care.
So there were no animals in Streets of Fire, not a single one, but I loved it and would recommend it to anyone who has seen it before or not.
Awesome.
And is in for some, melodrama.
Yeah. Well, who isn't? Who isn't?
No one I wanted. Nope.
Yeah.
Only people I can't talk. I think I'm out of language.
Total Recall! Woo! A little too total sometimes. Okay, it's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Total!
It's total. That's all.
Suspenders! Yeah!
Those are fancy suspenders. Those pants have buttons for those suspenders. Not a lot of people know that that's how they used to do it.
They're not up to the nips either. They're not like crazy grandpa style like Willem Dafoe's.
No, but I mean, his belly button is missing. Am I wrong? I think those are still a little high waters there.
No, I think it's like he's basically got it out at like the boxer level, When boxers go in the ring, they have their fighting trousers up just right at that knee.
Oh yeah,
you know what? It just covers the belly button.
And honestly, for some odd reason, I saw a video the other day where a guy was explaining how you should wear your pants with suspenders, and he is wearing them correctly.
Oh, really?
You want them to be up at your natural waist, which is a little above your belly button.
Yes, men wear their pants way too low. They don't wear it up at where their waist is.
Now, why I was watching that, I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that program.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it afterwards. It's not appropriate for this crowd.
Well, I feel great.
I think we've tortured the internet long enough. Yeah.
Yes, do it.
I'm going nowhere fast, y'all. Well, I'm glad that I'm really glad that we watched this movie, and it's true that like Shout Factory put this out not too long ago, so it should be no shock to anyone that there is value there. This isn't just some weird ass movie. I don't think anyone's really revitalized Mannequin yet, or or that darn cat or the cat from outer space. I don't think they've quite gotten there.
They're on Criterion Collection.
What is
the cat from outer space?
Yeah.
And that
It
darn
is
cat
not
are both on Criterion Collection streaming service.
The streaming service. Yeah.
Oh, the streaming service is different from the collection, Jeremy.
Different from the collection.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Jeremy, don't freak out the movie nerds. Yeah.
Dude, you got everyone riled.
It's about to throw hands. I was about to pull up my pants.
Nick was about to fasten them suspenders.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the waders on.
Oh, they're going over the navel now.
He's about to go into boxer mode.
Bring out the sledgehammer.
Put the Crocs in action sport mode.
Yeah.
Like I say, I don't have a sledgehammer, but I do have.
Here he comes with a weapon.
I have a
Awesome.
wolf cane.
Nice. Ooh, I need a good cane or a stick to walk my dog down the creek. We have bobcats where I live.
Oh, well, this would be even better.
Wow.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Because it's a sword, too.
Sweet.
Wow.
It's a sword cane.
Wow.
Cane
Man,
sword.
don't mess with the wizard.
Don't say bad things about Shout Factory.
Well, Shout Factory grabs stuff that isn't copyrighted, that is public domain, and they put their name on shit that they don't need to be putting their name on. But like every boutique label that I appreciate though does that sort of stuff. And on one hand, it's like, well, yeah, you don't want to just give away this transfer that you put money into, which, by the way, you're making a lot of money on, but like it doesn't mean that you own that movie. You can't own that movie, but unfortunately it pops up that way.
Well, that's
That's
not
a
cool.
bummer. Yeah, that's a bummer, man.
That's not cool.
But I think all boutique labels wind up doing that shit, though, And like I said, on one hand, I can understand how, like you're like, well, I don't want to just like give away to the world this thing I'm literally trying to get you to buy on Blu-ray, but I still think it falls more on YouTube's hands to differentiate the two. Instead of just saying like, oh, okay, well, we'll just let Shout Factory or Vinegar Syndrome or, whoever, because I'm a fan of a lot of them, just lay claim to this thing that they can't really lay claim to, like it's something that needs more nuance than it's getting. That's for sure. Yeah. Oh, see, even MST and riff tracks are not, that's not cool. No one owns EGA. You know who owns EGA? The world, man.
Yeah, everybody's
make
so
fun of-
greedy. That's just rude. That's rude.
Isn't it hurtful? Back in the day when a company
It is
came up,
hurtful.
when a company came up with stuff that was like, oh my gosh, the world will benefit from this. Well, they just shared it with people a lot of the times. Not all the time, but sometimes, like it wasn't always just, no, this is our idea. And, like that's that. So I don't know. Anyway, we do have to pick another movie. And, what was the order?
I think it's The Wizard.
Is it the Wizard next?
I believe so.
Because we did the Cat from Outer Space after Explorers. But if the Wizard is ready, like Empress, are you ready? Like, what? We want to talk about it, or
I think it's the Empress's turn.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
I did not know it was my turn, number one.
Okay.
But so I don't really have a selection.
Okay.
Does anybody else have a selection?
Yeah, if the Wizard's ready, I'm down with that.
He probably has one. He probably has.
I actually have two, but
Okay.
Oh.
I'm trying to decide.
Well, do you want to
one?
tell us what they are, and we can like sit here and kind of.
So one of them, it's funny. Adam brought it up tonight. Rock and Rule.
Amazing.
Which I don't know how many of you have seen, but it was
Never.
it was very influential to me around college time, and then I didn't see it forever, and then I saw it again, but then that's a whole story. But now I haven't seen it in quite a long time again, and I would love to go back and see how it plays today, and plus how y'all feel about it.
Yeah, and that, like a lot of films that we've done already, was a cable mainstay, where this is a movie that maybe didn't do that well at the box office, but cable ran the shit out of it.
For a while, and then it was gone. It was just like it disappeared.
Had rights issues.
It was, it had a lot of rights.
That stuff happens when your soundtrack has a lot of bands and you don't wrap it up legally the right way.
Oh.
What were you going to say, Buttercup?
I'm looking at this cast. I can't believe I have not seen this movie, but I think that's a good continuation of the thread we've been looking at, and it looks awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What's the other one?
It is so good.
Yeah. Well, what's the other one?
Whoa. It's animated?
Yes. It'll be our first animated.
Oh, sweet. We definitely got to watch this.
It's animated and a musical.
Oh my God. How have I not seen this?
And it is a proper musical. Like
Iggy Pop, Lou Reed, Debbie Harry, Cheap Trick.
Yes.
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Saying.
And they make fun of Mick Jagger. Like,
oh man.
Mick Jagger is totally like the unspoken foil of that film.
I'm in love already.
Well, I think you might have summed it up already, but I'm still freaking curious what the other movie was.
Completely like a 180 to The Love Bug.
The Love Bug.
The original Herbie movie.
Yeah, Disney.
Wow, I feel like I did see that movie when I was little too, but I have no idea.
I definitely saw it.
I watched the fuck out of that movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I was a Herbie fan.
And I had a vinyl record.
Yeah.
With Buddy Hackett telling the story of the movie. Like on a double-sided vinyl record that I listened to enough to wear it out, I think. Because I don't know where it is. I don't have it anymore.
And Buddy Hackett's just a sidekick, right? Like he's the mechanic for Herbie, maybe, or something.
He's the mechanic and does a lot of the driving.
Okay. All right. Okay. Just wondering. Well, my vote's with Rock and Rule. Like, Herbie ain't going nowhere. And like Herbie's a part of my childhood too. So we'll definitely get back to Herbie. But I feel like we've gotten some great reaction on Rock and Rule.
Let's do Rock and Roll.
Yeah, Rock and Roll. You like that? Okay.
I can't wait to watch it.
Can't wait to watch it. All right.
Great.
Super excited.
Okay. Well, let me just. Whoop! That didn't work out.
What was that?
Well, it was supposed to be the you thing, but it's an old machine. It doesn't always do exactly what you're supposed to do.
It never did what it was supposed to do. That's for the magic.
It never did. It had issues. It's fine. So yeah, what a great discussion of Streets of Fire. talking with you guys about Streets of Fire kind of makes me want to just go watch Streets of Fire again. You know,
Totally watch it again.
Yeah, and but maybe I'll just dream about it. I don't know. But we're going to meet again. The internet is going to see us in a couple weeks when we are ready to talk about Rock and Rule. This is a Canadian animated production, not unlike Heavy Metal. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going off the top of my head here. Obviously, I haven't researched it yet, but if I'm not mistaken, it's not all that dissimilar production to Heavy Metal in that it's Canadian. It has a lot of different. Is Cheap Trick on it? Or
Yes.
Okay, Cheap Trick's on it. And one thing I do remember is that is Iggy Pop the voice of the villain?
No, the voice of the villain is actually Paul Lamont.
Oh, okay.
But the singing voice of the villain is, at least the main song is Lou Reed.
Yeah.
And then I think Iggy Pop on one of the songs.
Yeah. Well, he is a hilarious send-up of Mick Jagger. You know, like there's no doubt who they were lampooning. You know.
That's great.
And I'm just going to mention again, Get Crazy, 1983's Get Crazy, starring Daniel Stern, because Malcolm McDowell does kind of the same thing in Get Crazy. He is like a superstar parody, you know, where he's like the established, you know, stadium sellout guy, and he has his own private jet, you know. Anyway, if you can get your hands on Get Crazy, it's not the easiest film to come across, but if you can find Get Crazy, I do highly recommend it. And it does have a lot more Ed Begley Jr. than Streets of Fire. And Lee Ving is a real high point. So, all right. Well, does anyone else have any closing thoughts they'd like to share? Or last-minute renditions of a Jim Steinman song from this film?
I will spare you.
I can dream about you. You can't tell, but I am acing this moonwalk. Just can't see it. Can't see it, but man. All right.
I believe in you.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks again. Good night, everyone. And thanks for joining us.
Rock on.
Total Recall. It was our pleasure to remember it for you. Good night.
Hasta la bye-bye.